Hey YouTube, I'm Jack Heel, the dad you wish you had. Today I asked the question, what does it mean to be an American? I've asked this question probably a dozen times on Twitter and never received a single response. I suspect it's because we really don't know what it means anymore. We used to hold these truths to be self evident. What truths? That all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. However, I think we don't believe these things anymore, or at least roughly half of the country doesn't believe it. Now, we know what it means to be a Mexican or an Englishman or a Minnesotan or a Texan. Mostly it has to do with where you were born and what citizenship your parents had. But being an American is a much different idea than being a Mexican or an Englishman or a Minnesotan. America has been that shining city on a hill for the entire world for generations, going back to, I don't know, the early 1800s. America was the place that everybody else dreamed about coming to. If they could just get here, they knew they could pursue their own life, exercise their own God given liberty, and pursue whatever it was that made them happy. Now, though, now it seems like for a lot of Americans, being an American means you're a racial, sexual, and economic oppressor. These people talk about America the way I suppose Germans who lived through World War II talked about the Third Reich, if you could get them to speak about it at all. It was a horror, an embarrassment that they distanced themselves from as quickly and thoroughly as possible. I simply seek to understand what is it that you believe it means to be an American? If you are an American citizen, talk back to me. Tell me, what is it about being an American that is unique, that makes it either better or worse than being, say, a citizen of Libya or Turkey or Laos or Argentina? What is it that makes a person an American? Is it merely the fact that they were born within the borders of the political entity known as the USA? Or is it something more? Is there, in fact, anything unique about being an American? Let's compare. What does it mean to be a citizen of other countries in the world? Now, my oldest daughter is married to a Belgian. He is a citizen of Belgium and a subject of the European Union. She is an American because she was born in America to American parents. They both live in Switzerland. They've been there for well over a decade, but neither has any chance of gaining Swiss citizenship, although their children do have the opportunity to become Swiss citizens, assuming they live there for the first 12 consecutive years of their life. Now, note, in Switzerland, these children only get the opportunity to become Swiss citizens. It's not automatic. Now, I wonder, are there any beliefs or thoughts or customs that make a person uniquely Swiss? Is there something about Switzerland that uniquely marks the Swiss people and makes Switzerland the place that people dream about immigrating to as they do about the United States? I know the things the country is best known for are banking privacy and neutrality in their politics. And frankly, the banking policy, the privacy policy in banking pretty much completely disappeared in 2009. Perhaps political neutrality is a passion for some people, but I don't know that it really has much innate emotional resonance with people who aren't Swiss. Oh, I want to go to Switzerland where they're non-political. What about the United Kingdom? Now, I know if you're a citizen of the UK, you can travel to and or live in any of the Commonwealth countries without any papers other than your Commonwealth passport. No visas needed, no limits on how long you can stay. So perhaps the idea that you could travel all around the world on a Commonwealth passport is enough to drive people to come to the United Kingdom so that they can become a citizen and gain that right. Now, the question I ask is, does the promise that you can travel the Commonwealth really have much emotional power? I don't know. I don't think so. In our founding document, Thomas Jefferson wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident." And then he listed those truths. First, all men are created equal. This was a radical idea then, and frankly, it's still a radical idea. Next, they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Again, a radical idea. It means that no one has the moral authority to deprive you of these rights. They come from the Creator, therefore, no earthly authority can deprive you of them rightfully. Now, what are those rights? Jefferson then lists those inalienable rights. First one, an inalienable, God, that's a hard word, God-given right to life. Now, back in 1776, people simply accepted that some lives were innately more important than others. Royals were more important than nobles. Nobles more important than clergy. Clergy more important than commoners. It was a very stratified culture, and everyone knew their place. That idea hasn't disappeared from the world. You can hear echoes of that exact idea today in woke discourse. By virtue of skin color, some lives matter more than others. Now, this idea directly contradicts the very core idea that is the United States of America. And it's a very old, very regressive idea. Throngs of people came to the USA over the last 200 years precisely because they were fleeing from countries and political ideologies. This was the single most radical political idea ever proposed, before or since. This claim that every single person has a core set of rights simply by virtue of existing had never been adopted by any political entity before. In fact, no other political entity had ever even dared to make such a claim, let alone make it the core platform that the entire public policy was built on. In our age, since we've already publicly decided that God doesn't exist, well, we just did away with the whole problem of endowed by their Creator. And since there is no longer a supreme moral authority, all rights are deemed to emanate from the entity which has now replaced God, the government. A government that claims to be the supreme moral authority gets to decide what is moral and what isn't. Now, frankly, that describes pretty much every government in history. The USA was an experiment in moving moral authority out of the political hands and, frankly, out of clergy's hands as well, and into the hands of an invisible Creator. It was a powerful idea. It was an idea strong enough to beckon the huddled masses yearning to be free to our teeming shores. And then finally, Jefferson talked about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It used to be known around the world that anyone could come to America, work hard, and build a good life for themselves. It didn't matter who your parents were or what color your skin was or what religion you did or did not practice. In fact, you could be a poor kid from a small town in Austria with very little future. But if you could make it to America, you could become a movie star and get elected governor of our largest state. Come to America, follow our laws, and do what you want. We'll stay out of your way. We'll celebrate your successes. No other country ever offered that promise. So talk back to me. What do you believe it means to be an American? Is it particularly unique? Is it special? I'm Jack Heald. I'm the dad you wish you had.